What's up, Lemon Heads? Welcome back to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. I'm Emily.
And I'm Crystal.
And this week, we're going to talk about the 3 top things that you must do for a successful home service marketing plan.
Guys, you guys are really going to think that we made this entirely too easy, because we are the queens of
oversimplifying.
How easy is it? Gosh, how hard is it? I'm sorry, how hard is it? So you probably are going to think this is way too easy, but I promise you, if you can get these 3 things stuck in your mind, compartmentalize your marketing, you will win the marketing game. So here we go. Let's sip some lemonade.
Let's do it. All right, so we tend to think the key to marketing is 3 very important pieces, and we're going to break them out, talk about them a little bit more. Being memorable, being we're going to be doing that a lot this episode. Being memorable, being discoverable, and being fosterable. Now, fosterable may be a made-up word, but hear us out, okay?
Yeah, listen to us here. We're struggling to find the right word that makes this just roll off the tongue. But you know, these are the 3 things that I'm a compartmentalization kind of girl. So I tend to learn better when I can compartmentalize. I tend to be able to structure my day better when I compartmentalize. So I tend to think of marketing strategies the same way. So when we're sitting here and we're building out a whole marketing plan. So friends, listen to me good here. I'm not talking specifically about your digital company, right? So some of you are like, well, I have marketing and it's through this digital company. That is a piece of a marketing puzzle.
That's right.
It is not your whole marketing plan.
There's way more to it than just a website.
Well, if it is, then we have a whole nother conversation we need to have.
Correct.
Because digital, let me say this too, it is a very important piece, a very relevant piece of your marketing strategy, but it cannot be the whole thing that you hang your hat on. There have been some people that are very successful with digital marketing, and so I'm not taking that away from anyone. I'm just telling you how much more successful things can be when you take on this 3 approach, this compartmentalization.
Sure, and when the digital aspect can interact and help other things, like they can work together with these other tactics and different avenues, if you will.
Yeah, so what I want you to do as a contractor is I want you to start dividing up everything that you spend money on that you consider marketing into 3 categories. Is it making me memorable? So is it a part of me being memorable in the marketplace, right? Memorable, noticeable, remembered, whatever, however you want to put that word together. But how are you being remembered? How are you making an impact? The second thing I want you to put into certain categories is how are you discoverable? So when people don't have an affiliation or a real engagement with a brand, are you findable? So if I'm searching from my home, how do I know that you provide the services that I'm looking for? So are you discoverable? And then the last and certainly not least, because this is really, this 3rd piece was really a big piece of the differentiator with who was successful during Q1 of 2023 and who was not as successful. And that is the fosterable side of this 3-piece combo here that we've got going on.
Yeah, that fostering, that cultivating, but your internal existing customers that you already have. You can't forget about those key pieces.
Are you fosterable? And so we're going to talk about that again. It's going to be the 3rd thing that we talk about. But fosterable meaning do you have an intentional plan and access to remarket to your existing database? So are you fosterable, right? So let's dig in. Our favorite part that we could probably spend a whole freaking episode on is the memorable side, because we live, eat, and breathe this side. But on the memorable side, that is all about the branding things.
That's right.
Some of y'all have unrealistic expectations on brand return on investment. So here's a little caveat, little pro tip here. You will never be able to make a direct line from certain mass media tactics, certain branding tactics, to legitimate every single dollar that it has generated for you. Because the brand piece, the memorable side of your marketing campaign is how am I staying top of mind awareness? How do I keep being at the top?
Sure, that's the largest part of the marketing funnel, that overall awareness piece, and that is all about your brand. And you can't ignore that piece. Like if you want to get down to the actual call to action, you have to start with the top part. You got to work your way down. You can't skip stages or skip steps.
Everyone in your market, you need them engaging with your brand. You need them seeing it, hearing it, smelling it, tasting it, whatever that looks like for some of you. But at the end of the day here, guys, what we're talking about is when you sit down and you go, well, I did radio for 3 months and it didn't generate 1 lead. You have no freaking idea.
Right.
No, so
it's not designed to be a direct lead generation piece.
Yeah, no, and it's really, so here's the deal. When I get home from work, so I've worked all day at Lemon Seed. I have a kid in football practice, a kid that's at golf lessons. I need to go get license plates put on my car. I've got all these things to do. And I come home and I open the door and the heat of Texas hits me in my face. Or my first foot in the door is a water puddle. I'm like, Jesus, be a whole entire
I don't need this right now.
Home service plan. A whole glass of wine, okay? Because all of a sudden now I'm needy. I didn't know I was needy. Yes, it's 6:30. I don't know. So that is when you want to be remembered.
That's right.
You don't want them to go straight up free agent into the internet and say, who can help me with plumbing repairs? You need to be known as the person to go to because people have interacted with your brand and you are so freaking memorable that they couldn't help but think of you.
And they feel like they already know you at this point because they've been able to interact.
So it's one of the most expensive ways to advertise and one of the least measurable ways to advertise. So congratulations.
Yeah.
It's real hard to explain it.
And they're like, of course the marketing people would say it that way.
Of course. Y'all probably make money off of it. I don't make $1, okay, off of those things. But here, this is the important piece here is understanding that what should grow is your organic searching, your branded searching should grow. So what I mean by that is we're still in 2023, right? So back in my day, definitely not Emily's day, but she probably remembers what a phone book is, but she probably never had to use one. But back in the day, I remember my mom would say, go look in the phone book and call the doctor's office or whatever. So now the phone book is actually Google, right? So people are going to go to Google and say, yellow bear air, because all they're wanting is the phone number, and they really would like for it to be clickable from the Google business profile, so I can just click to dial.
They already know who they want to call. It's not they're searching to find somebody.
Yes,
they are looking for you.
They're looking specifically for you. So then all these other ads don't pop up unless people are buying your name. But it's a much less direct. People really know who they're looking for there.
Correct.
Versus plumbing repair near me. Lord, I'm like I was going to say a prostitute on the street, but that's hard.
Another one.
But I mean, you're just open for business, right? Like everybody's coming for you because they need your lead. They need that new customer acquisition.
And you better be ready to pay to play to compete up against every other person who's trying to do that same thing.
So that's why some of you are like, I just can't beat the big guy. Well, my gosh, they're rushing to the bottom of the funnel, those people that are going free agents. So here's what's happened. You know what's going to happen? We go back. I Googled and said, I want to call, right? So you know who's going to get the credit for that? Your website or your Google business profile. That's who's going to get the ROI credit because of their search. But what really made you stick in their brain was your vans, that radio commercial, that newspaper ad,
that billboard yep.
that they've driven by 10 times, that you're like, well, nobody called and told me they saw my billboard. Well, that is not the way. Who does that? I didn't call my local McDonald's either and told them that I saw that
you
their
saw
billboard.
A commercial? Yeah.
Hey, I'm behind this chicken McGriddle thing, and thank you for having a billboard on Highway 59. That's just not what happens.
Or I saw that video on social media.
Yeah, like, I mean, hey, I saw your ad. What happens is we naturally are absorbing those things without acknowledging those things. And so that's just part of it. It's like infiltrating. Like we're little brain infiltrators, okay? So that's what you got to focus on. So I want some of you to really think what in your marketing budget that you are currently buying should be categorized as memorable. Some of y'all ain't got nothing. In my Texas twang, y'all ain't got nothing because y'all got all your money over here in a straight up PPC campaigns.
You got nothing, but then like you also, one, you need to get committed to it, but then committed to it for a long time because this organic and building this memorable thing, that doesn't happen overnight. Like this is definitely a marathon strategy, a long-term game.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, if you're only going to buy radio for 3 months, don't do it. Save your money.
Don't do it, yeah.
Yeah, save your money. Really, you need to go for it. So, like, I'm talking to some of you that just need to go for it. So, some of you just need to get a good jingle in place and get some radio in place and run 52 weeks of radio. Some of you need to go for it and buy 5 billboards that circle the inner areas of your service market, get a good campaign and go for it. Some of you need to get a new commercial built and go for it. Digital TV, digital radio, billboards, get your van wraps fixed. Do all kinds of cool things that people can engage with that isn't a direct call to action.
Well, and can I say one thing about that? Get your van wraps fixed. Having a wrap is not the same as having a memorable wrap or having an effective wrap. I think sometimes a lot of contractors are like, I have a wrap, check. I've literally just covered every inch of the vehicle, but that's not always the best.
No, or it's terrible.
Correct. Or we've listed every single service that we could possibly do, duct cleaning and da-da-da-da-da, and we're licensed and insured and follow us on this, and we accept Visa and MasterCard. Like,
oh my God.
You've seen it.
If
you know
you
what
have
happens.
that, if you have your social icons on your billboard, that's a good sign to call Lemon Seed, because I'm gonna have to hurt your feelings and theirs probably.
But doing it in an intentional way that's just meant to be very clean, to be very top of mind, to build general awareness so that they can see the brand, they can see that without being cluttered up of all the other nonsense that people are inclined to put on a wrap, a billboard.
Yeah, and some
all
of
the
y'all,
things.
some of us, I'll say y'all because this is everybody. A lot of us want to be cheap here. It's expensive. It is expensive.
And I can't relate an ROI to it.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you something here. This is the main question I get every single day of my life. Well, Crystal, what percentage of our revenue do you think we should be allocating to marketing? If you're trying to grow at all, 8%. So some of y'all, I mean, I just talked to a contractor this morning, and I was like, so we're going to be at $5 million. Oh my gosh, what do you spend on marketing? $110,000. And I'm like, okay, so here's the good news. Something got you to $5 million. Just doing good business got you to $5 million. They have a really cool referral program that I wrote down. I thought was a unique idea. But they basically pass out referral slips for every, like bucks, if they call it, for every install that they do. And it's $100 for the, $100 credit for the homeowner, and then $50 in a gift card to the new user. So it's a cool thing. And I said, well, how do you know that all of your work is referral work? And she's like, oh, well, they tell us. Well, they tell you, but they've also interacted with, they have 6 billboards up. And I'm like, we're not giving credit to any of those billboards. You know, and I'm like, well, because you can't tie that back in your Service Titan CRM, right? So there's just some things that.
And also a percentage. Sometimes we can get like an actual number in our head is like, oh, this is a great marketing plan. So like, for example, I was speaking with a contractor at a show last week. He's like, well, we spend $200,000 a year in marketing. Like, oh, that's great. For some contractors the size of their company, that's a really aggressive marketing plan to get you growing. It's like, oh, okay. So like, where are you at? Like, $2-3 million. We're at 20 million. Oh, okay. So you're spending 1% of marketing. So don't let that number get in your head.
Because what got you here won't get you there. So I say that. And people are like, well, I did $5 million. I ain't spending 5%. That's fine. Imagine what you could be if you actually did spend the correct amount in marketing. So it's not to negate the success that you've had by doing just good, hardworking people.
Sure.
The majority of people are good, hardworking, good business people, right? It's where could you be if you followed the science of marketing? And so you can get all crazy and brag and beat your chest like, I only spent 1% and I'm at 20 million. That's fantastic. And let me tell you, your percentage should go down as you start getting into 20 million, 50 million, right? But honestly, there's other ways to grow your company, acquisitions, adding verticals, but marketing, the majority of you listening, you need marketing to help you grow. And so it's just about setting the expectations there. And listen, some of it is not direct. And I'll even venture to say, when you first invest in a marketing campaign, you're going to look up and be like, oh my gosh, I'm spending all of this money and nothing is happening. But what happens is all of a sudden you look up one day and you're like, where did we come from?
Yeah.
Like, boom,
There you
know? So I like to set clear expectations. Well, let's jump into the second topic, which is discoverable. So discoverability. So this leads me to the actual part where most of you like to spend a lot of your time, which is down here in the bottom of the funnel. So this is when you have not made a brand connection. So I really wish there was a sound effect right here that said womp womp.
There it was. That was the sound effect.
Y'all are welcome. I'll charge a slight fee for my abilities.
Whatever.
But basically what I'm saying here is this is when they've made no connection to your brand. So you have an opportunity now to make what I call a secondary impression, right? So now you somehow gained their click, their call, their chat, their form fill, whatever you gained. So this is how do you show up when people in your market are looking for you. So some people are like, SEO is the biggest scam since organized religion. Like, I hear this kind of stuff all the time. And I'm like, oh my God, number one, that hurts my feelings on all kinds of levels. But
and we're not even the digital partner.
Yeah. But I'm like, okay, so SEO, let's talk about this for a minute. A lot of you don't understand it. And I have a very basic understanding. Lemon Seed is not digital strategist. I don't claim to be a digital expert. What I do claim to be is I like to be a good partner with our digital vendors. And we have several of them that we work with. And they're all great in their own right. And what it is we have to figure out on SEO search optimization. So what are the search terms that are happening in your market? So if you live in the South, you probably aren't servicing heated floors or boilers or you really don't need a humidifier. I didn't even know there was a such thing. I live in East Texas. Who in the heck needs more humidity?
You walk outside, that is a humidifier.
Yes, like outside, So there's some things there. But also, like in East Texas, one of our search terms is hot water heater. Why do we feel the need to heat hot water? I don't know.
We just do.
But our country comes out and we need a hot water heater. So that's a search term. It's like the third highest search term in our market. So guess what search term you're going to see on my website? Hot water heater. Does it make me look like a redneck? Absolutely. But you know what? That's who we want to do business with.
That's exactly right.
We want to be at every redneck home in East Texas.
We're not trying to appeal to everybody in New York State or anything like that, but like, who are we locally trying to appeal to?
So the point of a website, and I want to be very clear about this because I think we get twisted here. The main point of a website is for good search engine optimization. It's where you basically store all of the phrases that people are searching, and you get SEO digital experts to craft sentences and paragraphs and taglines and headlines and all of these phrases that let Google know that your website can answer the question and the need of the searcher. Mm-hmm. So yeah, some of you get way bogged down. What's ugly? Well, let me tell you, but it works, right? So we can fix the ugly side. But some of you want to fix it so much that then you slow the speed of your website down because you want all these moving pieces and videos. And Google says, this website, yes, it does have information, but it's kind of slow. So, and again, guys, this is like digital people that are listening. Y'all better not be laughing at me. This is a very simplistic look at it. So contractors that get very overwhelmed with digital, the reason that you need to invest in search engine optimization is so that the search engine will optimize your website. It's so that Google says your website fits the question that the homeowner is searching. So if you don't want to show up organically when people are searching, that's fine. Just keep overpaying for paid ads.
There you go.
Okay, so that I know it's a hard concept to understand. You don't have to be a digital specialist. Get with a digital vendor. Most of you are parts of best practice groups or Service Titans or Field Edge. Great programs. Utilize their preferred vendors to start figuring out who fits your style of communication, your style of work, your pricing style, who fits that best for you. And by God, partner with them and go for it.
And you got to have some trust in there because it's not going to be something that you can directly see or like put your hands on SEO. But there are a lot of caveats and strategy to it to where you do need to invest in a partner and trust them and let them do their thing versus you trying to hodgepodge it together like I can figure this out or I don't know what I'm paying for. Building up that relationship and letting them do what they're designed to do, but just with the understanding that like you're not going to be able to like physically see it or put your hand on it.
Correct. And it is so. There are some digital partners that give you a lot of information, and it is enough information to make your eyeballs go crossed because we don't know what to do with it, guys. We haven't made a living doing digital. That's why you've got great partners. I mean, guys, just go look. There are so many great partners out there. So you just need to Emily's point, you need to have a little trust. But also discoverable, like when people are using social media. So, when people are looking for social media and things like that, ironically, like YouTube and some social media, a lot of people are looking people up. So I use this example with this. So I was getting ready to get my car cleaned several months ago. And this is just top of mind because Emily needs her car cleaned because we accidentally left chicken in it when we were at the airport. But
for 7 whole days with 100-degree heat,
it's fine. But she has little kids, so her husband blamed it on them, and she let him. But
he's not listening to this episode, hopefully.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it's top of mind to me. So I immediately went to social media and I was like, mobile car wash. So could I have gone to Google? I could have, but you know what? Most mobile car washing companies aren't on Google. You know where they are? On social media. Mm-hmm. So we have to be present where the people are. Wasn't it Ariel? I want to be where the people are.
It was.
Oh, look at that.
You're still living our Disney.
Yes. So what happens there is we have to be where people are. So some of you have gotten this blanketed, templated stuff on social media. Is it better than nothing? Yes. But really what people want to see is, look how cool this company is.
Well, and that can directly tie back to the memorable aspect of it. Look how cool they are. I saw them doing this ridiculous video or, this little donut dance or taste test or something like that.
Yeah, silly things that make you more relatable. And here's a little pro tip for you. So I talked to a client the other day and they were like, hey, we're going live with Contractor Commerce, which is basically, e-store for selling equipment, filters, memberships, things like that. And so he was like, I just don't know how to get the word out. And I'm like, social media, retargeting, using your email blast to get the word out with these links to go on and pre-order your equipment, not final until we do an inspection. And so I just wanted to encourage you that like, you have got to be where people are looking and you've got to invest in that. So Discoverable, that's where you're going to categorize your website. Now, some of you may have branded page strategy going on. And if you do, segment that out and put it over in the memorable category. So some of you are doing social media paid ads that are just branding ads into new markets and things like that. Put it under memorable. But when we're talking about discoverable, we're talking about paid ads that are search dependent. We're talking about SEO and anything else that is basically a call to action. So if you've got direct mail and things like that that are very calls to action, I probably put them under discoverable. But really what I'm talking to you about here is really your digital footprint. That's what I call it. Digitally, how clean do you look? Where are you? Is everything very clean and organized, and is it easy to access you? So, all right, last but not least, let's talk a little bit about Fosterable.
Yeah, cultivating that existing database, your current customers, you cannot forget about them. We know you can make the most money and you've got to always be keeping your eye on the ball for new customers, but you can't forget about these existing ones. They are the ones that can become your raving fans when you are cultivating them. They can be your biggest advocates. Say, hey, I know a guy. You've got to call them. That's what we're ultimately looking for. And then when you do have that slowness that's not creating any demand, the weather isn't creating demand for you, when you're able to tap in and cultivate to foster your existing database, that will help get you through to when you need those searchable terms, if you will.
I talked to a company yesterday that had, he's a gas, propane delivery company and HVAC company. So HVAC is his main company, then he has a propane deliverable. So again, welcome to the country.
What's his name? Passmore Gas?
No. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Bleep that out. But, oh my God, that's terrible. But the gist of this was, he said, I've never touched my database. And I'm like, oh, well, how long have you been in business? 47 years.
Wow.
So I was like, friend, what in the holy macaroni are we doing right now? So, but innocently, what he said, well, I used to have an older CRM. And now I updated to a new software. And he goes, but I've realized, he said, I just feel like I'm sitting on a gold mine. I was like, friend,
absolutely,
you can probably add $2 million just in cultivating
tapping
47. And I'm like, once we get through the people that have died, okay, or moved, but what I'm saying here, some of you are, so I feel like I have like two totally different groups of people here. There are some of you that are like, I don't want to keep marketing to the same people. Then there's this other group of y'all that are like, I'm going to wear them the heck out. Like, I'm going to talk to them every month. I'm going to send ringless voicemails, text messages, and you kind of wear people thin. So some of you blow through your existing list. Some of you never touch it. There's kind of a sweet spot to me of where you've got a consistent touch point to use it for top of mind. So remember, I want to remind you guys of something. Remember like a time, like think back when maybe you locked your keys in your car. Back in the day, Emily, this was before people could actually, when you had an actual tangible key. So I locked my keys in my car when I was 17 years old, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I had to call somebody to come unlock my car, because used to the police would unlock your car for you. But then I think they damaged too many people's cars, so then it became like you had to call a locksmith. So I called the locksmith, and then several years later.
Was that on a payphone, a landline?
No, ma'am. But I did have to walk into Claire's and use their phone because there was no cell phones.
Yeah.
Cell phones were just coming out.
So you did use a landline.
Yes, I used a landline, but not a payphone. Mainly because I was like, a payphone is old school. But I remembered that, I didn't need that locksmith again for several years. So I don't know. I'm like, who did I call then? Well, I live in Lufkin, so it was only a few. But this is the same thing here. When someone has to interact with you and they get their problem fixed, they may not need you for literally years. So just these soft, gentle reminders that you're still here is a really good way to keep them.
Absolutely.
You don't want them to be like, who did I use? I don't know. Or they move or whatever. You just want to stay in contact with them. It's the same thing. It's like remarket. It is remarketing. It's not like. It is remarketing your brand back to those people. So I tell people, your messaging with this is also important. So it cannot be like sell. There's got to be like, here is where we are supporting the Alzheimer's Awareness Hamburger Fundraiser. Here is, our top winner of our system giveaway. But here are 3 ways to get your home ready for fall. Here is chimney safety. here, but also like at the bottom, like, don't forget it's time to get your system tuned up. There's ways to gently have a nod to an offer without just cramming it down their throat. Now, open estimates and things that like, they didn't sign up for my membership club. There are some things that need a quicker churn. You need to quickly respond to those things and get people to make a decision. But we're talking about just natural connection. You cannot overforce that. But so again, I lean into it is a part of where you go. So people are like, what do I do? I need call count right now. Your own database is your best bet. And this cracks me up. And I've told this story before, I think. I had a client one time that was like, the phones are not ringing, nothing's working. And I'm like, gosh, demand is really down. You're at 65 degrees. Like, you're a HVAC only company. And so I was like, well, why don't you outbound? Why don't you get your CSRs? Here's a script. Why don't you start outbounding for anybody in your database that is not? He goes, well, my girls are too busy to do that.
Oh, I thought you said nothing was happening.
So is the phone ringing or not? And then I said, well, then I'll tell you what, whatever's keeping them busy, why don't you do that for a little bit so that they can outbound? And they were like highly offended that how dare we think that a CSR can outbound? Why can't my digital ad just bring me customers? I'm like, because there's no customers.
Yeah.
Friend, all the little people that you think are just sitting at their computer searching for you, that's not happening right now. The weather's beautiful. People have we're worried about the economy. Like, I could get all crazy with people. And so, no, we're not just fired up to go buy a new heating and air conditioning system. So you need to outbound, or you need to have an outbound strategy, whether that's using things like Chirp or Marketing Pro through Service Titan. There's lots of cool things for you to use there, and you're just delusional if you think that you have no part to play in this.
No, absolutely. And like you said, you've got to keep them, if you will. You've got to keep that touching base, keep being their guy, being there for them, if you will, because it'll also hurt their feelings when that customer does go to search something, but they aren't searching their name. They're searching.
They go free agent. That's what I call it.
And then they're like, well, that's not a new customer. That's my existing customer. Well, sir, they did not search your name.
Yeah.
You can't claim them as your existing customer anymore.
I want to tell you, that search came through Google local service ads.
Yeah, not only happened to show up yours.
And they might have recognized your name, yes, but sir, anybody could have snapped them up.
Yes.
You were just lucky that you showed up in the GLSA trio that's up there at the top, because who knows what Google's going to make happen tomorrow. And so I can just really get on my soapbox about this. So this is why when you sit down to plan for marketing for next year, I want you to sit down and go, what am I doing to be memorable? And my expectations are clear. Discoverability and calls to action, those things have a much more directional ROI. And then so does the Fosterable piece of this trio. You should be able to manage. I sent out an email, my open rate, my click-through rates, and my response was this. And then launching things like a drip campaign that uses a text, a ringless voicemail drop, a direct mail piece. There is zero reason right now to not be working with your existing database.
Well, and especially if you're like multi-vertical, like you have multi-services, like, well, they only use me on the HVAC side. Well, do they even know that you do plumbing? Like, you've got to kind of foster and cultivate that. Do they know you do electrical or solar?
Y'all have deemed yourself very important. And you have decided that. So I had another.
Everyone knows everything that I do.
So I'm going to tell you. So I had a client email me this morning. I'm on a client tangent today. I had a client email me this morning that when I talked to them about coming on with Lemon Seed, the first recommendation that I made is that they update their logo. Okay. Their logo is very simplistic to the point that it gets lost. There's nothing memorable about it. And so I went ahead and said, hey, I'm going to make this recommendation because I feel like I owe it to you. You're paying me to be a consultant and an advisor and an expert in this. You need to refresh your brand. So today they respond back like, we think the brand is the least of our problems.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I think that the fact that you think that is the majority of your problem.
Yes.
Yeah. And the reason is because, guys, we have such a hard time with faith. Faith in things that are not super tangible. And listen, all y'all that got bought by a PE company know what I'm saying here. If it ain't showing up on a P&L, we have a hard time answering for it. So here's how you justify these things. You justify these things by growing your organic search, seeing how much more your brand gets searched, you're getting mentioned in post. Do not let those things go unnoticed and unweighted when it comes to performance reviews and auditing of your database. I watched PE companies last year. We helped build several companies, because let me tell you, marketing is not a Band-Aid for bad operations. So It takes a good little partnership here. But I watched clients last year lose what they had worked years to build because certain companies would come in, and most of the time it's private equity style companies that are bottom line driven, and they would turn off everything but digital. And then they would go hard and heavy in digital, and then their numbers in Q1 tanked. Q2 tanked. Thankfully, June, July, and August for a lot of us that are HVAC focused really helped regain, but most of you are not still out of the woods yet.
Yeah.
A lot of you were thankful. We're thankful that we got scorched up and burned our face off for 3 months, because if not, can y'all imagine what kind of year we'd be dealing with? I'm pretty sure it was Stochastic Marketing Group. They do direct mail. They came out with, and I'm 90% sure it was them, so forgive me if it wasn't, and I remember them telling me one day, hey, you know what, it's 2022, and we are replacing systems that aren't due to be replaced till 2024. And I was like, that kind of stuck with me a little bit, because I thought, man, we're going to kind of be in trouble, because we were living high on the hog, right, for a couple of years now, and people were just literally rolling in money. They were profitable. They had offers on the table. People were joining their maintenance clubs. They were selling high-end equipment. I mean, we were rocking and rolling. Homeowners had COVID money. We had all of these things. It was the perfect life. And then, boom. All of a sudden, people are like, oh, I'm scared if I don't have any money. And all of a sudden, your whole strategy, you had to pivot. Some of you pivoted. Some of you cried. Some of you didn't do nothing. You sat on your hands and didn't make any changes. But those of you that restructured and will compartmentalize into these 3 things, this is how you win the long game. So I tell my kids all the time, you know what my kids love to do? They really love to swing the ball. At golf practice, they want to see how far they can drive the ball. So they drive the ball, drive. They want new drivers. And every time I find them, they're on the driving range. Well, you know where my kids lose golf tournaments? In the short game. Okay, so it's a little bit of the opposite for us. Some of y'all are so busy over here putting and chipping that you ain't driving.
Yeah.
You keep putting, and you're not getting it in the hole. You're not making a hole in one here. You're 2 over, right? So yesterday my son called me. He's like, Mom, I'm 2 over going into the 10th hole. And I was like, oh, well, that's exciting, because normally he's going to shoot in the low 80s, right, at this golf tournament, at this golf. And we live on a simple golf course, but it's probably, I think what you should shoot, there's like a 72. You're going to see I'm a little ignorant with golf. I know enough to know if my son's going to place or not.
You know way more than me.
So he's like, I'm doing really good. And I said, well, what changed? And he goes, well, I've really been practicing chipping in. And so I was like, because it's more fun to drive the ball when you're 16 years old, just see how far you can hit the ball. But really, all he did was refocus on the chipping and the putting, and his coach was like, you need to chip, you need to putt, you need to chip, and I'm paying for him to chip and putt his little guts out there. And so what my point is here is, some of you are so focused on the short game that you have no focus on the long game, or vice versa. Some of you have decided that, well, it's all about branding and not anything about SEO and discoverability. And guys, it is a balanced approach. You have to keep your eye on the ball. Why I'm using so many sports analogies today, I do not know. But I'm competitive, so I think that's what it is. But, at the end of the day here, these 3 strategies and compartments are how you can wrap your head around what marketing really is. Some of you hate marketing.
No, for sure. But I do think you have to have all 3 of these components for it to actually be successful. I mean, I'm thinking of it as kind of like a 3-legged stool. The memorable aspect, the discoverable aspect, and the fosterable. If one of those is missing or lacking, like you're wobbling, like things aren't as stable or performing or solid as they should and could be.
Yeah, and that 3-legged stool analogy is used also on like operations, marketing, and sales. And so that whole thing is, what I've learned the most is about balance. Okay. The other thing, and our podcast director, we were kind of getting ready for the podcast, and Rachel said, well, don't you need all these things to be scalable? And I was like, oh my gosh, I wrote that word down, because that's very true. If you compartmentalize things into this memorable category and just, discoverable and fosterable, then as you grow, you just juice up, no pun intended, but a little bit of a pun intended, juice up where you need to add more dollars, because you can easily say, if I'm going into a new market, I need to start building on my memorable side. I need to be discoverable. I can't be fosterable yet. I don't have many people there. Some of you have less than 1,000 people in your database. Fosterable is extremely hard.
Sure.
I mean, I'll go through, listen, we send out 5,000 text messages a day for clients every single day. And so, if your database is not very thick or very strong, as I say, you'll roll through that very quickly. So fosterability, you have to work on. So some of you're not quite ready to be fully fosterable yet, but by God, I'd be making plans.
For sure.
And you know what that means? That means making sure your CSRs are getting the correct email addresses, the correct cell phone numbers. They're spelling names correctly. They're documenting when people buy and sell their homes. Start now doing those things, and then your fosterability, when you get there and you get a good amount in there, you will be set for success.
Yeah. So the moral of today's topic is to start seeing the whole picture for your marketing, to not be lazy or slacking on one of these aspects. When you can be intentional to these three legs, if you will, memorable, discoverable, and fosterable, you will start to see some real success and traction in your marketing and overall business.
Absolutely. Well, Lemon Seed Marketing would love to help you with all three of these compartments if at any time. We love to work on the branding, discoverability, and the fosterability. We love to partner with good team member or good vendor partners like Service Titan, Chirp, and of course our own design team that does great branding jobs and things like that. So we are here to help you manage all of your marketing, from your budgeting, your brand, community involvement, all of that good jazz, all those fun things. And so visit us at lemonseedmarketing.com to be able to schedule a free consultation to see if we would be good partners.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to another episode. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to consider writing us a review, giving us a follow on all the social medias. We're there. And as always, thank you for slipping some lemonade.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.